everybody, it's Ziz here and welcome to Crowfall Insider, your weekly news source for all things Crowfall, and this week we're taking a look at the Confessor powers. This is the ranged DPS fire-wielding mage that we're going to be able to play in the alpha, and they have a lot of awesome abilities including Hellfire, Gravity, Tornado, tons of crazy stuff we're going to look at there. Also, there was a bit of a backlash on the forums when this came out, and unfortunately that means we may not get quite as much detailed information in the future. We'll take a look at that as well. And last but not least, we're going to talk about Yomi. What is Yomi? Well, stay tuned to find out. First up is the Confessor, and this looks amazing. Now remember, some of these abilities and stuff are going to change, but I mean, just look at this artwork. It looks amazing, and usually I would say artwork, whatever, it usually looks cool, but the game looks nothing like it. But I feel like most of the artwork that we've seen so far actually translates into in-game models really well. And so normally a game MMO, it's like fireball, you do this and then a fireball shoots out. I mean, but look at this looks so cool. Like, I want to play a Confessor now, right? Doesn't this look amazing? Not only does it look amazing, but the abilities are pretty amazing too. Starting on the right hand side here, your left click is kind of like your auto attack, and you shoot fireballs. I mean, you can't get much cooler than that. Not only do you shoot fireballs, the third part of the change, you shoot 3 fireballs, either in like a V formation or like 3 really quick and rapid succession. And they also build what's called Sin on your target. This is like a stacking debuff that doesn't do anything by itself, but combines with some of the other abilities we're going to look at to do some pretty cool stuff. The right mouse button is a dash. So remember, the knight was a block. This is a dash. It moves you, like 10 meters or something like that. And they said you can use it twice in a row if you have like the full stamina bar, where they use. So that gets you a little bit of mobility, gets you out of trouble there. And then also there's C key. Now remember, the C key is designated for iframe powers. Iframe powers make you basically immune to being knocked back, being attacked. Like, they can't hit you. You're like removed from the physical world, I guess you could say. And immolation, the Confessor power, lasts 5 seconds. So for 5 seconds, you are immune to taking any damage, being knocked around, any CC. It also drops any movement impairing effects. So if you had a snare on you before, you pop this and you're not snared anymore and you can't be attacked, and you just run around basically killing everyone and going crazy. Next to that, we have retaliate. Remember, that's when you're knocked down. This is sort of like a built-in mechanic where you get to jump up and do some damage and it breaks you out of that knockdown. And last but not least is their passive, which is righteousness. Righteousness gives you a chance to get a little bit of mana back when you attack someone. So this class uses mana for all their abilities 1 through 10. And so starting at number 1 is Flames of Truth. Now, Flames of Truth is an instant cast delayed stun. So you can use it while you're running around and moving. You throw it on someone, and then 10 seconds later it blows up, does some damage, and also stuns them for 3 seconds. So this is really good for some timing, right? You start your fight with that, you build a bunch of sin on your target, and then you prepare yourself for that big like explosion to like burst them down at the end. But if you don't want to wait the whole 10 seconds, you can throw it on them and then press the button again. That's what the combo is, to instantly detonate it. It doesn't do as much damage, and it's only like a 2-second stun, but that gives you a lot of utility. You can either throw it on there and use it later, or use it right away, which is really cool. Now, number 2 is the Hellfire combo, which sounds completely ridiculous. Number 2 by itself is a damage shield. So they didn't expressly, say exactly how this works. Some games, the damage shield absorbs damage, and other games, the damage shield reflects damage back to other people. It kind of seems like this does both. It might absorb damage and reflect it back to other people, but it might just be the damage portion. We don't know. But that combos into, if you stay on the A path, that's the straight line up of it, that combos into, it absorbs your Hellfire, so it takes away your Hellfire, but then it makes this firewall flame wave thing in front of you, which does AoE damage. And then the third part of that chain, anyone who was hit by that flame wave gets knocked up in the air, takes damage, and they might even add a mine component at the end of that. So after they're knocked up in the air, they fall back down on top of a mine that does more damage. So pretty crazy there. AoE fire flame walls. And the B track there, the second line, you use your Hellfire combo, and the second one absorbs the Hellfire, and then it gives you a pulsing AoE sort of damage aura, which lasts a long time. I think it was like 20 seconds, they said. So it's pulsing damage around you, and then the third part of that absorbs your pulsing aura, and it sends out a Hellfire Gravity Tornado. That's right. I mean, it's 4 tornadoes that are made of fire, and not only that, they suck people into them. And then sounds pretty crazy, but it's gonna be amazing. I can't wait to see Alpha and see all these crazy hellfire gravity tornadoes. Number 3 is Meteor Purge. Now, this is the one where you stand and you charge it up and you can't move while you're charging it up. But the longer you hold the button down, the bigger and bigger your meteor gets, and then you can turn and you can face the person you want to attack. You throw that giant meteor on there, does a ton of damage. Number 4 is Absolution. Now, remember we were talking about sin stacks, right? Your left mouse button builds up sin stacks on your targets that you're hitting. And number 4 removes all the sin stacks, and it does damage in proportion to how many they had. So if they have 1 or 2 stacks, it does a little bit of damage, but if they have 5 or 6 or 10 stacks, it can do a whole bunch of damage. So this is a good combo, right? You throw your stun on them, you have 10 seconds to build up sin, and then right when the sun goes off, then you use this to blow up all the sin that was on them. Lots of cool kind of combos there. And if your target has 5 or more sin, they're going to be snared by 50%. So that means they run slower and they can't catch you while you're kiting them around. Number 5, Condemnation, is basically a flamethrower. I don't know, you're just, you like my sound effects? They're gonna hire me. They're so good. You're just a giant fired flamethrower thing, and anyone who has sin stacks on them takes even more damage. So I mean, that's pretty awesome. And last but not least is Indulgence. That's the number 6 ability. And what this is you stand there and you need to regain mana. It seems like a big part of the gameplay for Confessor is using a bunch of mana and running out, and then using this ability, Indulgence, number 6, to gain it back. Now, while you're doing that, you're pretty much vulnerable. Like, you take more damage than you normally would, you can't move around, you can't really do anything, and you're standing there for a few seconds, and it says that you're tearing pages out of your mage book and you're regaining all this mana. So it really seems like this class is going to be run in there, do a ton of damage, blow all your mana, blow people up, and then get out of there and get mana back. And then don't forget, you could combine this Indulgence with your Immolation, right? So you're in the thick of battle and you run out of mana, you can throw up your immunity, and then you can regain all your mana, and then boom, you're right back into it. So lots of really, really awesome sounding abilities. I thought the Knight sounded cool, but who doesn't want a Hellfire Gravity Tornado? Come on. Next up is a post we got on the official forums from J. Todd Coleman in regards to all of the overreaction that was going on. Now let me say, I am all for criticizing or giving constructive, meaningful feedback to the developers. But remember, we're not even pre-alpha, we're pre-alpha, people. So when they give us information and you freak out about it, this is what happens. If you look at this, this is J. Todd Coleman trying to address 2 pages of people freaking out. And at the end of it, he says, next time I'll make sure we provide less specifics, especially when those specifics aren't helpful anyway. What he's talking about is the duration. Some of those abilities that we just looked at, the Confessor, they were trying to give us an idea of how long they last. Things like the snares lasting 30 seconds, or the stun lasting 3 seconds, or the immunity lasting 5 seconds. And you know, the internet freaked out and everybody said, you're an idiot and this is terrible and you don't know what you're doing. But you have no idea. Remember, you haven't played the game. Remember, these people are not only players themselves, they've not only been in the business for 10, 20, 30 years, they're not only making the game, but the most important factor, they are playing the game every single day with these abilities. Now, does that mean we give them a free pass and let them do whatever they want? No, probably not. But I think when they give us information, maybe we should say, I'll wait until I get to play it in game to see how it feels. Because the problem is, you freak out when you have no idea what you're talking about, and then this happens. Thanks so much, forum nerds. Now we get less information in the future. And last but not least is Yomi, Spies of the Mind. Now, J. Todd Coleman had made a couple of comments about Yomi on the forums, and people are like, what is that? What are you talking about? So he came out with this update on Thursday, just giving us a little bit of information, and it was actually something he learned from a friend of his, another game developer, who was a professional gamer, and it's all about predicting what your opponent's going to do. And instead of having, let's say, 50 abilities you can use, it's more about trying to figure out what your opponent's going to do and thinking 2, 3, 4, 5 steps ahead of them. And they give an example. This is an excerpt from a book, and then the book talks about this other player, I think it was a Japanese player, in Street Fighter, and it's really cool. You should go and look at it at Wikipedia, because this guy is totally awesome. And one of the kind of stories is about how he was in the Street Fighter competition, and he was literally down to the last pixel of health, and he was going to get kicked out of the competition, but he knew that his opponent was going to use this ability, and so he parried 15 abilities all within a fraction of a second, like boom, 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 15 of them, and then countered the guy and killed him, all because of Yomi. He was thinking ahead and figuring out what the other person was going to do. And the cool thing about this is that hopefully that's the sort of gameplay we get in Crowfall. Not necessarily super twitch in a split second, but thinking ahead, thinking who am I fighting? What is their archetype? Who are they playing with? What's the next ability? And so you are ready to counter that, and you have all this sort of in-depth, it's almost like chess, you know, you're thinking 20 moves ahead, and that's the person. It's a lot more strategy and less button mashing, which I'm super excited for. That's the kind of game that I want to play, and I'm glad this is sort of a foundation idea they have, and they're willing to talk about their design elements. It sounds really cool to me. You should go check it out. So that's it this week for Crowfall Insider. We talked a whole bunch about the Confessor because, well, their abilities are pretty awesome. What do you think? Are the abilities good or bad? Do you think a 5-second immunity is ridiculous and the developers are idiots, or do you think you could just wait and try it out to see how it actually feels in game? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Also, try not to be so ridiculous on the forums that the developers give us less information. I think that's a bad plan. And last but not least, use a little bit of Yomi and think ahead that the developers maybe know what they're doing a few steps down the line. I'm not saying give them a free pass, but come on. The developers, they've made games. Let's actually try it before we figure it out. That's it this week. Thanks so much. I will see you next time.